You will be loyal to the president's wishes, no matter whether they comport with the law or the evidence or the facts. You will do this or you will lose your job.
When Joe Biden introduced Merrick Garland as his Attorney General, he said this: "I want to be clear to those who lead this department who you will serve. You won't work for me. You are not the president or the vice president's lawyer. Your loyalty is not to me, it's to the law, the Constitution, the people of this nation, to guarantee justice." When Pam Bondi introduced Donald Trump to the Department of Justice, the staff wasn't even invited to go to the Great Hall in the Justice Department at the building. And she said that she was very happy to serve at the directive of Donald Trump. What's the importance of the difference between those introductions, and how important do you think it'll be to the Justice Department in the future?
I'm so glad you focus on those two moments which we highlighted in two parts of the book, because they are so jarringly different. Joe Biden, for whatever his flaws and positives, was very clear that he wanted to turn the page on the presidency of Donald Trump, the first one, which had involved him trying to manipulate, essentially, the Department of Justice for his political and personal errands to achieve his political goals. And he largely failed, by the way, in his first presidency to make that happen, to make the Department of Justice his whipping boy. Pam Bondi made very clear, both in that Great Hall speech and later on, that she is the president's errand girl. There's no other way to put it. She made that clear in her testimony today before the House Judiciary Committee, which was just a shocking display of doubling over herself to show her fealty to Donald Trump. At one point mentioning the high levels of the Dow and the stock market to emphasize how great a president Donald Trump was, rather than answer the questions about her department. Why, you ask, why is it so important? The White House has always agreed, and its occupants have always agreed since Nixon, to leave the Department of Justice to the very important decisions of who to prosecute, how to enforce the laws, and when to show leniency, what kind of crimes have been committed, what the evidence is, and whether or not to bring charges. And now we have a president who, for the first time since Nixon, is directing the Department of Justice as his domain and as his errand, as his tool to achieve what he wants, often to punish people he considers his enemies and critics.
Hi, I'm Pat Morrison, one of the hosts of America at a Crossroads. If you like this video, don't just watch. Head over to our website where you can subscribe for early access to new programs, see our upcoming schedules, and connect directly with our guests in our weekly live streams. Thank you for watching.
What about the staff, permanent staff of the department, or at least semi-permanent, and many of them are resigning, as I understand it today, or over the last few weeks. And when they were watching Pam Bondi introduce the president, you talked to some of them about how they felt about it and what they said. What has been their consensus, do you think? And again, how important is that to the future of justice in the United States?
Great question. We have a scene in the book, in Injustice, in which people are watching career prosecutors who've devoted their lives to this mission. It's really a calling for many of these individuals to stand up in court each day and say, I'm Carol Leonnig here for the United States of America. Their jaws were dropping as they heard Pam Bondi describe working at the directive of Donald Trump. And the reason their jaws were on the floor was this had never happened before. There were other weird things about that Great Hall event. As you mentioned smartly, the staff were not invited. The Great Hall is a place where the Attorney General brings together the soldiers of justice. And instead, he brought together a lot of donors and VIPs and sort of the regular folks who really are the engine of justice were not welcome. They could watch it on Zoom. So the long-term problem, Lauren, is in every way the leaders of the Department of Justice and the White House have communicated to the career staff, sometimes in direct ways, sometimes more subtle ways. You will be loyal to the president's wishes, no matter whether they comport with the law or the evidence or the facts. You will do this or you will lose your job. And many people have decided ever since that moment in the Great Hall to flee, to look for jobs in law firms, jobs that probably are very, very lucrative, but that they eschewed because they loved the mission, the public mission.
Next week, the New Yorker staff writer Susan Glasser will be here in conversation with Madeline Brand. Collapsing norms. Can American democracy survive this stress test? That's the subject. Everybody have a good night, and thanks for being with us.